You know, um, with the Incredibles 2 recently coming, well, with the second Incredibles recently released, I think the biggest question is where do they go from here? Now, I have not seen the movie, but as I mentioned in an audio vid, I believe, I pretty much know what how the movie's going to turn about. And pretty much if you read Wikipedia, or if you watch spoiler videos after non-spoiler reviews, you pretty much have an idea of what's going to happen. And you pretty much know who the villain is, you pretty much know how the kids are going to come into play, you pretty much know what's going to happen with the parents, mostly Elastigirl and then Mr. Incredible and then of course Frozone, and some of the new heroes that are brought in. And quite frankly, when one thinks about it, from what I've read, from what people have said after seeing the movie and stuff, there's just so much more that The Incredibles can give us. And obviously we're probably going to get a third movie. Hopefully the wait won't be as long as this one. But when I say that there's so much potential and so much more they can give us, I'm not talking about giving it to us in a third film, no. They could still do that. But what I look at is them giving it to us in an animated series. Hear me out. There have been certain movies lately that have been getting the animated series treatment. Big Hero 6, which probably will get a sequel down the line itself, has got an animated series adaptation. Tangled got an animated series adaptation. Sorry about that. But Tangled got an animated series adaptation. And there's others as well. So the question would be, would Incredibles follow suit? I think honestly, yeah. I think they should. And I think Disney knows that. Like I said, I think Disney knows that because of the fact that they've done it already, in a sense. Past and present. Sorry about that. Had to use the facilities real quickly. But when I look at the fact that The Incredibles could be utilized as an animated series, it wouldn't be the first time that Disney has done this. They've done it in the past couple of years and everything, so it wouldn't be the first time. For example, if I can find it here, like I said, Big Hero 6, Tangled, which is now Tangled Rapunzel's Adventures, Hercules, Lilo and Stitch, Aladdin, Rocketeer's getting a series, I think. Yeah, it's a Disney Junior series, but the Rocketeer's getting a series. How about that? And it comes out in 2019. Buzz Lightyear Star Command had one, Little Mermaid had one, Aladdin had one. They've all had them. And like I said, Big Hero 6 has had them, and even some of the new Disney properties. Like Star Wars has gotten them. Like Star Wars, that Destiny series is or whatever it's called. One of the recent Star Wars series takes place between the current trilogy, episodes 7 and 9. It takes place during this current ongoing trilogy. So, Disney's no stranger in doing that. They're not no strangers in doing that. I mean, Buzz Lightyear's series is supposed to be based off the stories that that the fictional toy of Buzz Lightyear is based around, and that is a series that came out right after Toy Story 2. So it's no different, if you know what I mean. Like I said, Big Hero 6, it's supposed to be, Big Hero 6 has got a series, and they're supposed to have a sequel coming to the movie eventually, maybe. And, Tangled, there's probably talk of that getting a sequel down the line, but it's got a movie already he's got a movie. It had a short that followed up on it, and this is supposed to take place between the movie and the short. So that being Tangled, Rapunzel's Adventures, Aladdin, when it came out, took place after the Return of Jafar, after the Aladdin movie and the Return of Jafar sequel, which the Return of Jafar served as basically a movie pilot or a pilot movie for the series. And then, like I said, the series itself takes place between that and King of Thieves, which acted as the series finale, as the movie finale for the series. And then you take a look at Hercules, which is a series that took place in between the movie itself. And Little Mermaid takes place before her movie, sort of like a prequel series. You kind of get the idea. Lilo and Stitch takes place after Lilo and Stitch. 101 Dalmatians is supposed to take place after 101 Dalmatians, the live-action movie, I believe. So so again, Disney's no stranger to this. They're no strangers whatsoever. And to me, when I look at The Incredibles, I look at a property by Disney and Pixar that could really benefit from an animated series. I really do. I see a property that can really benefit from that, because just think about all the ongoing adventures that the family can go on. And in the process, if you're Pixar and Disney and you still want to do a sequel, then go ahead and do it. Go ahead and still do it, still work on it. But in between then, you could have this series going on that, gives fans more development for the characters. And if you want to, you could connect that series between both films. You could connect the series between Incredibles 2 and Incredibles 3. You could do that. And people would actually appreciate it, because you would give the characters more development, so that when they go see the movie, if they follow the series, they'll have an idea of what's going on. The other potential idea for an Incredibles series is for it to be a prequel, for something that takes place before Helen and Bob get married. Like, okay, they're just starting out as Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible, and they're dating and all that. That potentially right there could work as well, because people would get behind it. They would like to learn more about, in Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, Frozone, and anybody else around. They would like to get to know these characters better. You could even let them get introduced to the superheroes that, as we saw in the first film, ended up being deceased thanks to syndrome, if you will. So it could work out that way. I mean, we got a glimpse of that at the beginning of the first film. Why not give us the whole pot? Why not give us the whole meal, if you will? Or the whole appetizer, the whole buffet of appetizers with a prequel series based on The Incredibles. Again, I think people would love it. I think people would really get a kick out of it, because it would be something that gives characters like Bob and Helen and Frozone and even Edna Mold a lot more character development and a lot more background and history as to who they are and how they've adapted to be the superheroes they are today. And again, if you don't do that, you can do a series that takes place in between Incredibles 2 and 3. You could do that. And you give the characters, because now the characters, a little bit of spoiler here from what people have said and in the reviews, you've given the characters that free reign again to go out and do superheroing. They're not looked at as criminals anymore. They can go out and do superheroing. And you open the door for a lot more adventures, a lot more stories to be told. The character development the character development for not just the family, but any heroes like any other heroes like Void and Frozone, and any new characters you want to bring in. Even Violet's boyfriend, if you will. I think what his name, Todd. You bring them in, you give them more development. And again, and as well, like I say, you go back to the Parr family, you can give them development as well. Because you could do a lot more stuff. You'd have a lot more opportunity through an animated series to really get to know a lot better who the Parr family is. You can actually focus an adventure in an episode sometimes on just one or two characters, like the interaction between, like imagine doing an episode, an adventure story between, focusing on the relationship, the mother-daughter relationship of Elastigirl, Helen, and Violet, or Elastigirl, Helen, and Dash, or Mr. Incredible and Violet, or Mr. Incredible and Dash. And you can throw Jack in there as well. Like, he can be a wild card or something. And you can do it individually as well. Like, you can focus a story to where, okay, the kids are off maybe doing a summer camp or something. Bob's off doing something else with his new job or whatever he's doing. And Elastigirl's got the whole place to herself. You can dedicate an episode maybe to where she spends time with Jack, having fun with her. Where she has fun with him. She can shapeshift herself into a ball, or play hide and seek by shape-shifting and blending into walls or stuff like that, or turning into all these other things. And that's something else you could do in an animated series, that if you want to have it take place between this second movie and potentially a third movie, you can have them develop the powers more. You can have them, you can showcase more of what the powers can do than what we've seen. And that's a benefit. That's a benefit from doing an animated series. So as much as a lot of people would love to see a third Incredibles, which hopefully won't take as long as this one took to be released, I think that during that time, doing an animated series based on the Incredibles, possibly connecting the two movies as well, in one continuity, could work. And I think people would be appreciative of that. And heck, you could get Craig T. Nelson and Helen Hunt to come in and reprise their characters, because they're really not, no disrespect to them, they're not really doing much as far as like big screen movie roles or television roles. You can have them come in and spend I don't know how many hours it takes to do a voice over for an episode in a series, but you can have them come in and do their characters. You can even, if you want to, bring in Samuel L. Jackson or someone that sounds similar to him to do Frozone. The opportunity is there, and it presents itself well. It's like with Zootopia. A lot of people look at Zootopia and potentially look at a movie that is going to benefit from getting a sequel, but then again, on the other hand, some people would benefit more from having an animated series based off it. And there's been talk about both happening, about a sequel happening, and about an animated series happening, because from an animated series standpoint, the potential is there to tell so many stories evolving around Nick and Judy as a team, as partners, trying to build that relationship, that partnership, that trust. Taking down any other kind of criminal activity, or just having everyday slice of life adventures with some of the characters that we get introduced to in Zootopia, like Gazelle, like some of the police officers, some of the people that Nick knows on the street, stuff like that. Or even do episodes where you focus on those characters like Gazelle, and all that. Maybe with a Zootopia series, you can do an episode where, let's say, Nick gets sick, Judy needs a partner, and you could have Gazelle step in, which would be kind of crazy, but it could work. The point is, the reason Zootopia was brought up as a potential of having a potential animated series in the future maybe alongside or not alongside a sequel, is because the creators, the writers, Disney's themselves see the potential and the stories and the potential that all different that basically an animated series presents story-wise. And that's the same thing I think about with Incredibles. And I'm sure Disney and Pixar see the same thing, that, hey, we could hold off on Incredibles until we do the third movie, hopefully whenever that might be in the next few years. Or they see the fact that, hey, we got all this potential to do all these potential stories that we could do with these characters. It's going to be hard to choose, which one to do. They could actually take that potential and say, you know what, let's make an animated series. And like I said, they could go two different directions. They could go as a prequel series, or they can go as a series that takes place after Incredibles 2 and between possibly Incredibles 3. And you could use the series to focus on the character development of the family, new characters, associated characters, friends. You could do pair-ups as well. Like I said, you can do pair-ups that focus on the relationships of the parents with the kids, like Helen with Dash, or Helen with Violet, Helen with Jack, same with Bob. You could do that. You can do it individually, where you could focus on one character, and maybe do a slice of life day like episode with them, where they try to keep them being bored after they've done so many things, and they just look at, hey, I've got these powers, maybe I can do something interesting with them to keep me entertained. That to me would be a perfect Elastigirl episode, or maybe a good Violet episode. I'm not trying to be rude or offensive or anything, guys, no disrespect, but knowing how shows have utilized those kind of characters in those kind of situations in the past, I wouldn't put it past Disney and Pixar to do that. So no offense on that. But again, the potential is there to go either way. So the way I look at it, Incredibles could definitely lend itself to having an animated series based on it, or having an animated series spin-off that, in my opinion, could work either way. As a prequel to the first one, takes place years later when, like I said, Bob and Helen are just coming into the powers and becoming Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl. Or you could have it take place after Incredibles 2 and between possibly Incredibles 3. So again, the potential is there, but I definitely think the Incredibles overall can definitely work as an animated series spin-off. So let me know what you guys think, though, down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you. And I am out.